Hey guys, it's Simon from redlinemotorsport.co.uk. Today we have a Misano Corsa competition only. This will be round one again as we just restarted the championship since we had the latest build of 1.0.7. This is just literally run for the 6 weeks, this championship. Sorry, 6 rounds over 12 weeks actually, because it is bi-weekly. And then hopefully, once this season finishes, we'll be able to start season 2. And then we'll start to run some tiers, so then we can have 2 or 3 servers running at once, and then get more competitive racing going on. But anyway, as it is, we are just literally testing this. Yeah, this season is pretty much just testing the waters. So it is a mixture of pros and AMs. So today it'll be myself, Simon, commentating, and Jake Oswell. Hello, Jake.
Hello, Simon.
Hello.
Thank you for having me. How are we?
Where are we?
How are we?
See, that's a bad start already. I think we're doing all right at the moment, thank you. How about yourself?
Yeah, good, thanks. Looking forward to what should be another close race.
Yeah, it should well be. So it will be very interesting to see how they do today. So we just got just over 7 minutes of practice left. Then it's 30 minutes qualifying, and then it's a 60-minute race. If the game goes to plan and it works to my config file, then the race should start at 6 AM in the morning, and it's got a time 6 progression, so it should go on until midday in the game. That's if the game decides to work, because as of lately it hasn't been doing as it's told regarding the entry lists and things like that. So anyway, we will hopefully have this running today. But yeah, we've had a few issues as well regarding when using custom skins, that if we was forcing the drivers category, so if we wanted to put a pro driver as an AM driver, for example, purely because obviously they're qualifying times, the game wouldn't allow us to do that if they had a custom skin. So we've had to go back to basics, unfortunately, and go back to the standard skins just so we can get everyone back in their original classes. So at the moment I think we've got 24 people in there, is that right, Jake, at the moment? We've got 24 drivers in so far, so we should be seeing a few more.
We have indeed.
Yeah, we've got a few sign-outs tonight. It's about 3 sign-outs, so we should hopefully get about 27 drivers tonight. So we've got most of, basically all the AM drivers are in. There's just a couple of the pro drivers missing tonight. So yeah, we should be in for a pretty interesting race. So yeah, welcome to the stream, guys. Tell that Kevin guy to get busy.
Yeah, we're looking in good stead this evening for a pretty close race. Top 8-9 drivers all been covered by under a second currently, so
yeah,
we should see a really good fight for the podium spots at least. And looking down the order, there's little bunches of 3s and 4s where drivers are really tight, so you should see pretty good fighting throughout. And there's a few good passing opportunities down here, so it should be fairly interesting throughout the whole grid.
Absolutely. So we've just got just over 5 minutes of practice, and then so we go over to the qualifying for 30 minutes. So yeah, to go back to your question there, Tony. Yeah, feel free to message Kevin and get onto the poor dev. So bless him, he's probably working 24/7 like yourself regarding all the programming and stuff. So yeah, we understand it's very stressful at the moment for the guys, but hopefully they will get things sorted, and yeah, we'll get the game that everyone wants. So just on board with Yuri for a minute. So yeah, why are you not working, Tony? Why are you in chat? So yeah, just bear with us a second, guys. Just doing a few last minute things.
Looks like Willem's managed to drop the pace down even more. It's down to mid 34 now, 34.5.
Yeah, some pretty
Looks like
fast
James
guys in
has
here at the
also managed
moment.
to match him on the 34.5 as well, and Chris on the 34.8. The time's been slowly coming down, and we're still only on a fast track, so we could see sort of mid to low 33s come qualifying time. Slowly swapping who can get the fastest time at the minute between sort of Willem, James, and Chris currently.
That's it, yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see which one of those three can take the pole spot for qualifying.
Absolutely. So, yeah, to answer your question, XX97, yes, it is Misano tonight. Yeah, we decided we had to restart the championship because due to our new website, we're basically putting all the results onto the website now. So, yeah, we've made our own JSON reader to read the results that get printed out at the end of the race. So it saves us a lot of work later on having to write out tables. You just literally upload the results and job done. So yeah, so we thought it would be best to start the championship from this point. Now we've got the new website up. So if you haven't done it already, guys, do check it out. It's www.redlinemotorsport.co.uk. We've got lots of races on across loads of different games, 7 days a week. So yeah, get yourself signed up and come and join our Discord. So we are just shy of 1,500 members at the moment, so we are growing pretty fast.
Yeah, get yourself in, we don't bite.
That's right.
Unless you cause a problem on track, then we'll give you the boot.
No,
it's a very fair system.
We do obviously expect clean racing from you guys, so we do have a very harsh penalty system, but the idea behind that is to make you aware of what you've done wrong and stuff, and hopefully you learn from it and come back a better driver. That's our goal behind it. So we do like to educate people to try and make them become better drivers. So, because obviously at the end of the day, we're not playing a Forza. People are spending a lot of money in their sim rigs to actually race properly. So we're on board with Willem. So Willem's currently P1 at the moment. He's got the fastest lap of the race so far. I say race, is actually practice. And obviously the track's still fast at the moment. So if these guys can get these sort of times in a bit quicker when the track turns optimal for the qualifying, then we should be in for a pretty awesome race. But if we just bring the times up at the moment, we've got 4 drivers in the 134s with Samir at the moment in P6 with almost dead 135. So it looks like we're going to have some pretty close racing right across the board. Again, in their own groups between the AMs and pros. As we say, that Oscar, who's in P5 at the moment, is actually P1 for the AM class. So he's doing very well to get up that high at the moment. So we might have to push him onto the pro category if he continues at this sort of rate. But yeah, he's done very well so far.
Yeah, he's higher than sort of half of the pro drivers.
Yeah,
also Manuel Angelo, he's doing well up there at the minute in P8.
He sure is, yeah.
Just to add on what you said earlier about the penalties, it's not just penalising bad drivers. Also, some of the top drivers in here, the esports drivers, take time out to help improve a lot of the AM drivers to improve their driving and all that as well. Absolutely. It's great to see them take the time to help the other drivers out. We don't just give them the boot and off you go. They will be given time to help improve their driving and find out where they're going wrong.
That's right, very true. So we're with Fabio at the moment. He's very keen to help train up the AM guys as well, try to get them up to scratch. So if you guys are pretty new to sim racing, he's the guy to come and speak to help you sort of gain a few more seconds off your lap time. So he's very good teacher. So yeah, if you do join the Discord, do obviously DM him. He's more than happy to help because he is planning to run a rookie league to run bi-weekly in between our Friday ACC Championship. So he's going to run a rookie league and ACC on the Fridays in between them. So obviously, yeah, so any guys that are obviously new to sim racing and stuff like that, and obviously, get yourselves into our Discord and get yourself signed up for it. So we've got a couple guys left out on track at the moment, so once they go back in, we should quickly swap over to qualifying. So otherwise, it is the last lap they can actually do. There we are. That was a very quick transition.
Green line. Go, go, go.
Oh, got a couple guys going out already. So it looks like
Willem wants to lead the way.
Yeah. So yeah, Oscar and Willem are trying to fight to get out of the pits there, but
Oscar might find himself in good stead there if he actually sits behind Willem, because he's been the pace setter so far.
yeah, he sure has. Yeah, he's definitely got good pace in the AMG. He has raced in a few of our test races as well at the beginning when we first started doing some racing in ACC back in the end of May. So yeah, he's definitely got some pace. So he's definitely one to get a podium tonight. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's very true. James also in the AMG, there was nothing to separate them during practice, so we'll see what they've got in qualifying trim.
Absolutely. So this should be a pretty good race. So temperatures are a little bit lower, so hopefully the track should turn optimal pretty soon. I have just noticed actually the start of race is at midday, and I am sure I set it to start at 10 AM. So I just want to double check this, because if this is the case, then that means then the official race was supposed to start at 6 AM is not going to start at 6 AM. So there's definitely some issues here with the game. I'll just double check to make sure before I do point at ACC. Because of course it's never my fault.
Nice to see that you're paying attention to the stream, James, but I'm sure you should be paying attention to the track and quali. But good to see you're paying attention to the stream as well.
Is he on YouTube at the moment? Is he?
He is indeed.
Okay. So yeah. Don't forget, guys, to obviously like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitch. We are streaming to both platforms. So really appreciate you guys obviously following us. And obviously the more you do, the more streams we do, and the more we commentate on the races. Right, okay, so it was my fault. So yeah, so qualify was starting at 12. For some reason I thought it was 10 o'clock. So yeah, so hopefully the race should start at 6 AM. That's what I've set it for. So we will see after the next 27 minutes if the race does start at 6 AM in the morning. And then we've got 6 times progression on there, so that would take the race up to midday. So it's a nice slow progression there for an hour race. So they should get the nice morning sun if it don't stay too cloudy. So should be getting dazzled by the sunlight.
Yeah, that'll be interesting because temperatures will actually warm up during the race, where most of the past races we've actually seen the temperatures get cooler as the race goes on, as it progressed into evening and night.
Absolutely. So, mate, yeah, no, you don't need to join, mate. Are the reserves that are signed up for the championship only get a spot once someone actually drops out of the championship? That's the way it's going to work, unfortunately. So we have got 24, 25 in it at the moment, maybe possibly 26. I can't scroll down at the moment for some reason.
Neither can I.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got 25 drivers in at the moment, so I know that 3 have signed out, so we should be due 2 more shortly. Yeah, the thing is, if we allow you guys to join while 2 people are signed out, it's just going to mess up our standings with the results Jasons and stuff, and yeah, it's just easier to keep it this way.
Like Willem is setting the pace so far with a 1:34.8, though we've seen them go 0.3 faster in qualifying, so I'd expect them to be definitely down in the mid 33s as we see the track conditions change.
Yeah, so James has just obviously set his time at 1:34.8, so he's 700ths slower than William at the moment. With Alberto, we're 1:34.9, is almost 2 tenths down on William. And we've got Albert, who is currently 1:35, I say almost 1:35 dead actually. So he's only, so he's actually 6 tenths off of William for P1. So it should be an interesting race so far.
Yeah, we did see an improvement by Willem, but it was an invalid lap. It's 1:34.4, but he's obviously gone wide somewhere, so he knows the time's there as long as he didn't gain it illegally.
That's it. Oh, looks like one of the Ferraris went off track there as hauling a sign around on his bonnet. It's just fallen off the bonnet there. So that's quite fun to watch. So yeah, so there's no 50 metre marker there on that corner. I believe that was Alberto who did that. Alberto, it was Albert, I believe I did that.
Looks like this time round Willem was able to set that time on 34.4. Samir's creeped in there as well with a 1:34.5.
He sure has, yeah. So Samir's now obviously taken P2 at the moment. We're 1:34.5. So yeah, if qualifying does change and the track does change to optimal, it could be any time. Hopefully in the sort of last 11-12 minutes of the qualifying, we should see. I've just seen one of the Ferraris just go off wide there. We should see maybe some improvements. We might actually even break into a 1:33. So we're not far off it now. We're only 4 tenths off of a high 1:33. So it should be pretty good to see. The time so far at the moment.
Pretty sure the top 5 drivers will be capable of the A3s.
That's it.
Once we see the track improve.
Yeah, so Oscar is the AM driver. He's P4, but P1 overall for his class. So he's doing very well at the moment with 1:34.8. So with P2 of the AM class is Daniel, who is currently P8 with a 1:36.5. So there's quite a big gap between them at the moment. 1.6 seconds between P1 and P2 of the AM class. So we might have to put Oscar up to a pro category at some point if he continues this pace throughout the race. So we'll just jump back with Willem a sec.
I'm just on board with Chris Hoke at the minute. He hasn't set a lap time yet, though we would expect him to definitely be in the top 3, I would expect.
Yeah. Chris Hoke, he's down at P19 at the moment, so he hasn't set a lap time yet.
He's got about a quarter of the lap left. It's been a fairly smooth lap so far, so
it sure has.
He's just trying to get himself a banker in, I'm sure.
That's right. So as William's going over the finish line, we will just jump on board with him and take a lap with him.
Just see where it puts Chris.
So we just see how well he's doing on the track and give you guys a bit of insight on how these guys are getting the times they're getting. So hopefully he doesn't do anything illegal and he tries to keep at least 2 tyres on the tarmac.
It's only P7 for Chris, so I don't know if he's just trying to wind himself up slowly for some faster laps.
Absolutely. So we do know that Chris and James do practice a lot together, so they should have fairly similar pace as we saw in the practice. Just approaching turn 11 at the moment. Down to T13. So see if he's got enough to improve there. So fast lap so far is 134.4 as he's just about to cross the line. And he's just, only unfortunately he's 3 tenths slower than what he was, but still not bad pace from him at the moment.
Chris is now gearing up to have another attempt as his last attempt failed on him, coming down to T14. Got very wide, a big slide down into 10-14, so he had to bail out, and he's now about to have another crack at it. He's in P7 at the minute. I'd expect to see him to climb at least another 4 or 5 positions.
Absolutely. So Chris is obviously P7 at the moment, 135.1. We definitely know he's got pace in this car. So I guess he's just hoping to get a nice clear run, which it looks like he has at the moment. He's got no one in front of him, so no traffic. So we should hopefully get a nice quick time in. So nothing's really changed at the moment. William's still holding P1 at the moment with the fast lap of 134.4. Samir's P2 with 134.5. James is in P3 with 134.59, so he's 200ths of a second off Samir in P2. We've got Osco's in the AM category, who's currently P4 overall but P1 for the AM class. And we've got Alberto in P5 with a 134.9. So we're on board with Chris at the moment, still P7. So he has got the same sort of pace as James, so we'll just see if he can either grab P4 or actually take the spot above James and grab P3. It'd be interesting to see as he comes around the last corner. So he's just managed a 134.5 there, so glad we stuck with him. So he's now managed to grab P3, which has pushed James up to P4, so James ain't going to be too happy about that. So the race is going to be on between those two guys. But anyway, we've still got just under 18 minutes left of qualifying, and then, like I said, the track's still showing fast, so it should hopefully turn to optimal at some point. And if it does, then obviously these guys will be out for the last minutes to try and get those faster lap times in and keep the positions they're going to get for the start of the race. No, Vicky's not racing tonight. She's in Thailand, unfortunately. So she should be back. I'm not sure if she's back this Friday actually for the Friday Championship, or she'll be back in a fortnight for the round 2 of this one. I'll have to double check. So just jump on board with Oscar Berg for a minute, because again he's currently holding P1 for the AM class.
Like you said, it's impressive times for an AM driver.
Absolutely, but like I said, if you go onto the ACC leaderboard, you will see Oscar on there, up around the sort of top 10. So if his race consistency is as good as his hot lapping, then he definitely will be heading up to pro.
Yeah, for sure. Daniel Coxon as well. He's impressive times just inside the top 10 at 35.8. Managed to get himself above sort of 5 pro drivers there. It's impressive.
So looks like Bad Moon has had a drop out. He just messaged me, so unfortunately he's had to leave for an emergency by the looks of it. So unfortunately we just lost another driver. Yeah, Berg is dropping down at the moment because obviously the guys aren't getting faster lap times in at the moment. But as Berg is obviously the AM class, he's still holding P1 for his class at the moment. So there's no threat there at the moment. I'll just bring up the leaderboard time so you guys know a quick look to see what's going on.
Manuel Angelo as well. He's another driver in the top 10 in the AM drivers.
Yeah, so he's currently, Emmanuel's P8 at the moment is P2 for his class. So he's only just over 3/10 off of Oscar's time. So there should be some close racing between those guys. So we jump on board with Albert for a bit. So he's just managed to grab P2 then, as he just went over the start-finish line. So he's coming in at 134.48, with William in P1 with 134.44.
So ridiculously close for the top 6 drivers. Less than 0.3 of a second, covering 6 drivers. It's going to be an epic fight for the top 6, and I can't wait to watch this.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty interesting race. So I said, as Albert, there's obviously, Albert's managed to obviously shake things up a bit there by grabbing P2, which has now pushed Samir back to P3. Chris is now P4 and James Parker P5. So, and again, that's obviously pushed Oscar, who's currently P1 of the AM class, down to P7.
I wonder if that's got any bearing on track, as it has just turned optimum. So now is the time to be out on track, and we should see some big improvements suddenly start to come now. I wonder who will first crack those 33s. I'm sure we'll see one.
We sure will, because yeah, the tracks has just changed to optimum, so this is where it's going to start to become a game changer now.
Yeah, you can't afford not to be out on track right now.
Yeah, Albert's just managed a 134.4, which is now put him up to P1, but he's jumped back into the pits now.
I guess a fresh set of boots and straight back out, I would reckon.
Yeah, I imagine he would want to get some new tyres on, that's for sure, to try and take advantage of the optimal track limits now. Optimal track limits, optimal track temps. So this is where it's going to get very interesting with the times starting to change now. This is where the leaderboard is really going to start to get mixed up. So I'll just give you a quick brief of the leaderboard so far. I imagine now that it's gone optimal, we should hopefully see high 133s. So Chris Hooke has just managed to grab P2 now. He's now gone in with a 134.41. So he is actually 3,000th of a second off of Alberto in P1. I'll just bring it up so you can actually see. So there's 3,000th of a second. It's just like nothing. Absolutely nothing in it between those two guys.
Be very important now to make sure you get some space, because the track's going to get quite crowded now. They're noticing that the track conditions have changed. So very important to find yourself a nice gap.
That's alright, yeah. So
it's all good and well getting yourself a tow, but not if it's a driver that's not doing the similar lap times to you.
So hello, Alberto. So just jump on board with Jose for a minute. He's in the T-Rex. So the only one in the T-Rex. We did have an awesome event with the T-Rex last Friday, so do check that video out, guys. It was pretty awesome to watch. He's just jumped into the pits. Just giving us a few more guys a bit of screen time while we just wait for these guys to finish these warm-up laps, and then hopefully we jump back to see some of the faster runners changing positions. So now I have Andre Dal Malso in here. Malso. So he's currently 13. Jump on board with Yuri for a bit. So just bear with me a second.
Just watching those leaderboards at the minute to see which driver is going to be the first one to crack those 33s. I'm sure one of them will. But, who's going to be the first one to put that time on the board? Give everyone else a marker to try and beat.
That's right, yeah. So at the moment, St Alberto's still holding P1. We've got Chris Coke in P2. William Carston's P3 at the moment. James is still holding P4. Samir's in P5. We've got Alberto in P6. And we've got Oscar, who's P7, but P1 for the AM class.
As you say, that Albert has just increased his lead with a 1:34.2. So he's giving himself a couple of tenths, a tenth and a half lead there at the minute, but still with 8 minutes left, I don't expect that to be the fastest time. No, pretty sure one of them is going to crack that 33 soon.
I believe so, yeah. I'm pretty sure we might see a high 1:33.
So far, Albert seems to be the only one that's actually improving his times at the minute. I don't know if the other guys are just over-trying a bit at the minute.
That is a question, isn't it? So
I'm surprised to still see as many drivers as there are in the pits as well.
Yeah, we've still got quite a few at the moment, which is, like I said, just under 8 minutes of qualifying left. So yeah, just giving the rest of the guys a bit of screen time at the moment. If you just flick down through. So we've got Ben, currently P21. He's also in the AM class. So we've got quite an array of cars here. Nico's in the Nissan, as he's just put off the track by the looks of it there. Jump down to Mark. Mark's in the McLaren. So we've got quite an array of cars. I think the only car that's really missing from these GT3s is the Jaguar. That's the only one that's not in this race at the moment. But so Chris has just managed to prove his time now. We're 1:34.2. Where Alberto's at 1:34.27. So there's 700ths of a second between them at the moment. So he's definitely trying to find space here, as he looks like he's on a pretty fast lap at the moment. So we might just jump on board with him for a bit, see if he makes some improvement here. And what I will do is I'll just bring on some of the HUD, so you guys can get an idea of his basically throttle brake inputs. So hopefully he doesn't get slowed down by the traffic in front. Maybe try and get a bit of a tow when he comes down to the main pit straight. So he's very precise with his inputs if you watch there. So that's very nice of the both of the guys in front there to pull out the way, so hopefully you might see an improved lap time. He comes around the last corner, comes down the main pit straight. So he's just in. So he's just 200 of a second off his last time there. So still a pretty good result.
That's a superb consistency in lap time.
That sure is, absolutely.
0.002, one lap to the next.
So just have a quick look to see where Alberto is at the moment. So he's still around the back of the track at the moment. Got a few more corners. So where he's made an improvement, we'll see.
See, James Parker's just been in for another fresh set of boots, and he's now on his out lap to see if he can have another crack at improving his lap time. Currently with a 1:34.4. He has improved slightly, but quite enough to increase his position yet.
No, that's pretty interesting, though. So let's see where William Carston is at the moment. So he's 2 tenths off his fastest time there at the moment, so he's not doing much more to improve. Alberto's just coming around the final corner as well. So he'll be coming down the main pitch straight and see if he makes an improvement. So 1:34.7, so not an improvement there unfortunately. We'll just jump on the jump board with James Parker because he's not far off again. So he's currently P5. So I don't know if that lap would be invalidated as he did go quite off track there. So Samir's in the pit at the moment, who's currently P6. So Oscar's still holding P7. We've got Fabian who's in P8 at the moment. So Chris and Albert have gone into the pits at the moment. So at the moment still got William out on track, James Parker's out on track. We've got Fabian we're on board with now, currently P8.
I don't think any of these top boys can be disheartened in their positions, with the top 6 drivers being covered by less than 4 tenths per second. That's some supreme lap times.
Absolutely. So yes, it's been pretty awesome racing so far, these guys. So I'll give our Emmanuel a bit of screen time here. He's in the other Lambo, so currently P9, but he is P2 of the AM class. So his fastest laps are 1:35.2 with Oscar in P7 or P1 of the AM class with 1:34.7. So Oscar is almost 5 tenths faster at the moment than Emmanuel. But as I say, it is all about consistency because a lot will happen, especially if the race does start at 6 AM in the morning. Tyre temperatures and stuff will, and track temperatures and stuff like that will change. So it looks like Chris and Albert are back out on track now, so we might have to jump back on them. It looks like they're trying to go in for a final lap, as there's just 1 minute 20 seconds left of qualifying before we have the 60-minute race.
I see. Are we going to see any improvements in the last attempts?
Absolutely. So yeah, I think you're right there, David. I don't think we actually got any Astons in here, actually, looking at the board. Yeah, there is not a single Aston. So yeah, so actually we're missing an Aston and a Jag from the so far. But I mean, it is good to see at the moment that we've got a Lambo lead in with a Ferrari and then the AMG. So there's quite a nice mix-up at the top. So it isn't just one class dominating this track. So I think Chris Hookies might be on a fast lap again. It looks like his last lap was a 4 minute, so he should have done his warm-up lap. So this should be his final lap to see if he can make a final improvement. So still holding P1 at the moment as we just come to the end of the time of that.
We won't see any improvements by Samir, as he's just had an off, unfortunately. So P6 will be the best he can manage today.
So Chris has done a whopping 134.1, so close to a high 133 there from Chris. So absolutely impressive there to gain an extra tenth off his time. We'll jump on board with Alberto for a minute. I think he's just actually pulled off there actually, so we'll jump on board with Fabian. So there's only about 4 drivers out on track at the moment. We've got Fabian here with us at the moment. We've got Emmanuel, who's in the AM class. So we'll jump over to Emmanuel once Fabian's completed his lap to see if he does make an improvement.
It's been a very smooth end to his lap, Fabian. Shall soon see if he's made an improvement.
Oh, well, that threw us off then with the change.
Yeah, he did, but unfortunately not enough to make any impact on the finishing position.
No, absolutely. So we've got Chris in P1, Alberto's P2, Williams in P3, Albert's P2, Alberto's P4, James is P5, Samir P6. We've got Oscar P7, but P1 for the AM class. Fabian's P8 or P7 for the Pro class. Emmanuel is P9 or P2 for the AM class. And then we've got Andre Dal Meso, who is in the Pro class for P8. So I'll jump on board with Helicam, because it's usually the best cam to start with. This way we can get a full grid. So this is going to be a full formation lap. So once the leader starts to go ahead, they should get into single file, spread themselves out, be able to warm their tyres and brakes up. And then as they come around to the second to last corner, they should get back into double file, as the leader should slow back down again, allow them to get into double file. And then the leader will bring around the final corner, and then when they come up to the pitch straight, it will be go, 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 and we'll be on for the race. So yeah, so the race has started at 6 AM, so it did work out right, but it's still daylight. I was hoping for a darker time, or to be a bit more darker than it is now at 6 AM in the game. So another thing to take note is obviously the ambient and track temp's 22 degrees at the moment, so that's 12 degrees less than what it was in the race, in the qualifying.
I could definitely have a bearing on the first few laps for sure.
Absolutely, so yeah. So Chris has done an awesome job there with the Lambo, so he is very quick for that car. So to get an impressive time there with 134.1, so absolutely awesome lap time. So the game, I wasn't sure if the game was going to rain as well for the race, maybe spit, but at the moment it's looking all clear so far. So we've got 1 minute 30 left, and then the race or the formation lap will start. So yeah, guys, if you've got any questions, do post it in the chat. You know, we'll try and answer them where we can. If you're new to our streams, don't forget to like and follow us on YouTube, and just like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitch, because we are streaming to both platforms. Very much appreciated. And if you're looking for a sim racing community to take part in, then do head on over to redlionmotorsport.co.uk. So we do a lot of races, including rookie races as well now. So, and they run 7 days a week. So we've got races every day across a selection of sim racing games. So do get yourself signed up, because we have got currently nearly 1,500 members so far. So yeah, we're growing pretty fast. This is like waiting for paint to dry, isn't it? 20 seconds left to go, come on.
Giving the drivers time for a quick bathroom break if needed. Especially the nerves start to rise now.
Absolutely.
A 60-minute race ahead of them. This is it's a long old race.
That's right. It was giving me time to chew my sweet as well.
Here we go. Off on the formation lap. Chris Hoke to lead the way.
That's right, yeah. So they should start to spread out a bit. And once they spread out enough, they can start to obviously warm up their tyres and brakes. Hopefully not cause a collision or make a mistake and go off track. Not exactly the brightest things to do on a formation lap. So just jumping back to the back of the grid just to make sure everyone's behaving.
Just want to say a big thank you to Adam on YouTube. We appreciate the kind words.
What did he say there, mate?
He said we are growing because of the good job we are doing and to keep it up. So much appreciated there, Adam.
Yeah, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. So everyone's behaving nicely at the moment. No one's doing anything too drastic. So we've had no one rear-ending anyone at the moment. So they all seem to be behaving themselves so far.
Do you have any favourites for the winner for today?
I have to say, Chris is in a very good position to get pole. You know, we know that he's got the consistency. So if he can, you know, keep that consistency, especially with Albert on his back, because Albert is very consistent as well. So it's going to be a really good battle between Chris and Albert. And obviously we know William's a good driver. I mean, to be honest, we've got quite a few good drivers in the top 6 at the moment. So it could be anyone's race.
Yeah, quite easily.
I couldn't say because one mistake could obviously end it all for one driver. But as I said, we've got 6 very fast drivers at the moment, all close together. But then obviously we've got a split with one of the AM drivers in P7 with Oscar. So and then obviously we've got Fabian as well, and Manuel's the other AM driver there. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a pretty good battle between these 6 at least. So as long as nothing goes wrong in the first on the first lap and they sort of settle in their paces, it should be a really good race.
Yeah, they're all very good at keeping consistent lap times, and they're used to dealing with the pressure as well. So
absolutely,
interesting to see how this all pans out.
That's right. So they should start to be getting back into double file now. Oh, looks like almost one of the Hondas nearly goes at the back end of the black Lambo there. But they seem to do alright so far. Just make sure the rest of them catch up, because they need to catch up pretty quickly. As they do, so we just jump back to the leader as they come round the final corner. And they come up to the pit straight and they're off. So Alberto's managed to get a better start. He's blocked one of the Ferraris behind, but there's a big crash at the moment. So it looks like William's gone off.
Unfortunately, we've lost
and
our
obviously
lead.
Chris has gone as well. So we had a big pile up there, unfortunately. So we lost quite a few cars.
Oh, it's still going on.
So that's a big mistake. Very costly there. So it looks like need to wait for the leaderboard to catch up now, because it's not making sense right now at the moment. It's showing that Chris is P1,
It's
but
like
he's not
Albert
P1.
and James are the 2 survivors from those front few, with the new driver Oscar Berg in P3 and Samir in P4.
Such a shame. Just that's the thing. Too eager into T1. I mean, the whole point of formation lap is to try and calm the nerves, get everyone to be patient. But obviously, it just takes one, doesn't it? So Albert did try to block the Ferrari behind, and obviously that caused a bit of a mistake there, which then obviously sent off that big chain reaction. So unfortunately, a few of the drivers have lost quite a lot of time. So Chris Hookie's now down to P8, so he's got a lot of work to do. So now we've got the battle is going to be pretty much on with James and Albert at the moment. So we've got Oscar, who's P3, who is P1 of the AM class. Samir is P4 but P3 of the Pro class, and we've got Emmanuel, who is P5 overall or P2 for the AM class. So that is such a shame, but Chris is starting to close the gap up again, so he's got a lot of work to do. He's down to P8 at the moment, so it's a bit of a shame to see all that happening. Alberto's had the biggest brunt of it, as he's still off track. We just caught another one there, so Alberto is just span off track, so he's not having a very good race at the moment. So it looks like there might be some points, penalty points to be given here, unfortunately, and that will just start to tame the drivers. So it looks like Jose's going to pit. Looks like he's got some serious damage. So that's a shame. Looks so who's going to? So Alberto's going into the pits as well. So Alberto and Jose's just going into the pits for repairs. So that's going to cost them the race by the looks of it. So that's really unfortunate to see that at the start of the race. James is still closing the gap at that moment on Alberto, so he's not letting Albert out of sight.
Yeah, for sure, he's definitely keeping the pressure on. So Albert has definitely been wide in a few corners early on in this lap. He's definitely feeling the pressure from James, and hopefully he can keep this pressure on and see if he can get some sort of pass lined up.
Absolutely. So yeah, just to answer your question there, that did suck a bit, didn't it? That was a bit of I don't think anyone really expected that in T1 really, especially at Misano. But it only takes one car to make a mistake, and chain reaction with so many cars on track, and unfortunately you don't know a big pile up, and it does happen in real life as well.
Yeah, it's always a shame to see. It's such a long race. There's no need for that, I don't believe, at the start of a race.
Absolutely not. I mean, like I said, you've got to just take it easy. Find yourself in the race, and then obviously you can start to take places. But it looks like Chris might be going for an overtake now, so he's come down the inside of Fabian. So he's had to... Still got the inside line, so Chris has now put himself up to P7. We're going to jump back onto James Parker at the moment, because he's closing the gap at the moment on Alberto. On Albert. It's getting confusing with Alberto and Albert in here. So do excuse me. So yeah, so he's putting closing the gap there with Albert, not letting him go. With Oscar just behind. So that was a bit confusing there. So sorry, we've got a back marker there at the moment. So Alberto is in the Ferrari just behind at the moment. He's now one lap down as he went into the pits. So he's got a lot of work to do now in this race to try and gain some time and get some positions back. So we do know that Alberto has got pace in his cars. So hopefully later on in the race we should see him gain some better positions, because at the moment obviously he's running last right now, or second to last, with Jose in last. Oh, camera didn't want to catch up then. So just with Samir at the moment, as you say, it's, the game is still on between these guys. So Chris is definitely showing that he's got pace in this Lambo, as he's slowly closing that gap there with Ray Strelo in front. So it looks like Emmanuel's just managed to grab a position there, sending, I believe that was Ray to one side there. Just trying to back over to James and Albert, because James again is not letting Albert out of sight. So some pretty good racing with these guys so far.
Watching what has
Chris
been
is down to P6 at the moment. He's gone wide, but there's a Porsche going a bit funny there at the moment. I believe that is Samir. I don't know who that is in the Porsche at the moment. It's a bit confusing. I'll just see if I can get some some onboard
Just
names
watching
off
some
in
of
a
the
minute.
midfield battles at the minute.
I believe it
Seeing
is, yeah.
some,
So it was Samir. Samir's gone off track there. I didn't bring the names up then, just a quick catch who was there, but Chris is still putting pressure on with Ray Strado at the moment for P4. So Chris has done pretty well so far. So drop back to P8. He's now up to P5. He's coming down side by side with Ray at the moment. But Ray has got the inside line. We might get a bit of a change around in a minute. Get a better camera angle there so we can see a bit more action and see what's going on. So Chris still holding P5. As he's just gone a bit wide there, lost a bit of time. And he's got Fabian there closing the gap there as he's coming down the side of him there in the Lexus. We've got Manuel here, he's currently holding P2 for the AM class, with Oscar in P3 at the moment for P1 of the AM class. So Chris is trying to get past Ray Stralo.
Surprised to see Yuri as far down as he is, as he's just made a brilliant pass down on to Andre Del Massa, as that now moves him up to P14.
Oh, as he's just made a big mistake and just spun himself around.
Done all that good work. He's made himself a couple of places back up as well.
Yeah, he's just took himself off.
It's a shame to see.
So James looks like he's lost a few positions now. So it looks like he's made a mistake. He's now behind Chris. Chris is up to P4 now. Ray's P3. Oscar is now holding P2. So there must have been a bit of an off there with James, because he's lost a few positions from that.
Shame to see the leader with such a gap. It's going to give him a lot of time to just get into his rhythm. Yeah, it's going to be hard for these guys to try and pull that gap in.
Absolutely. So Emmanuel. So I don't know if Samir's got some damage or whatnot, or whether Samir's just playing it cool again, and he's going to literally go flat out later on in the race, because Samir does have some really good tactics, you know. Although he's P7 at the moment.
It looks like he's in the thick of it at the minute.
Yeah, so I think maybe this is his game, because remember before in a couple of races he's done this before, where he just sort of doesn't push too hard in the first half and then saves his tyres for the second half, and that's when he really attacks, and that's where he gets his positions from. So he does have a very good strategy going.
Yeah, very canny. We've seen him take the win in the last few minutes of the race at Catalunya, if I remember correctly. That very same strategy.
It, so.
Fabian doing very well to find himself in P6, not getting caught up too much in that early incident.
Yeah, so he's closing the gap there on James at the moment, so not letting James out of sight. So I said it's a bit of a shame that James has had to drop back to P5.
Wonder whether he's taken on any damage, James. We didn't see him go off.
Too sure, to be honest. Doesn't look like he's got any damage. Looking, there's no aero damage that I can see. So I think literally just made of probably made a bit of a mistake. Probably went wide on the corner and just obviously lost a bit of time. So, but yeah, as to your chat there, yeah, I think Chris is definitely coming back with revenge for sure, I'd say. So he's definitely trying to. It looks like Ray's just span himself. Ray just span himself around.
Great job to keep himself out of the way of everyone else.
He was very lucky there, wasn't he? Right in the middle of the track there, but luckily enough, everyone managed to pass. So that's now put him down to P9. So he lost a few positions. That's now pushed Chris up to P3.
He's not going to be complaining, Chris, is he?
Absolutely not. So Chris is back in the game now. So he's back on the podiums. So, and
clear
as you
air
can
ahead
see,
as well.
he's definitely trying his best to not let that gap sort of slip away with with Albert, who's in P1 currently, who looks to be about 11 seconds ahead so far. So we know that Chris has got the pace, and he's very consistent with this car. So hopefully he will be able to get back on the back end of Albert, because we know that Albert does struggle a bit with a bit of competition, especially trying to defend. So I'll just jump back to Oscar at the moment. He's currently holding P1 for the AM class. So again, he's been very, very good. He's managed to miss most of the incidents that's gone on. So that's what's got him right up the top here. So he's having a nice clean run. So just jump back to Emmanuel, who's P7 at the moment. So he's P2 overall of the AM class. So a bit of a distance between him and Oscar at the moment. So, and he's got Daniel not far behind for P3 of the AM class, who is currently P8 in the other blue AMG. So not too far behind.
Be interested to see what sort of lap times Chris can do. Now he's got clear road ahead. He's only a tenth faster than our leader last time around. And I wonder if it makes a difference now not having the clear air up ahead.
That's it. So it looks like Williams struggling with his car. I mean, Williams again. I mean, I don't know if he's got damage or whatnot, but he's really losing a lot of time right now. And he's said the incident back on T1 lap 1. It's obviously cost him a lot of places. He's down at P21, so maybe he needs to jump in and pit, because his car's not looking that stable compared to others.
You've got to think he's got damage with the times we know he's capable of doing.
Yeah, because we look at his times, only his best times are 1:36.3 so far. So we know he's definitely capable of getting down to the 1:35s. With the fastest lap of the race so far, it looks like it's James Parker, 1:35.1. So just trying to see roughly where Chris is on Albert. So
it's about half second that last lap faster than our leader.
Yeah, he sure looks to be. Yeah,
that sort of pace sure can catch up.
Yeah, because Albert's last lap was a 1:36.1. Chris's last lap was a 1:35.6. So yeah, there is a good 5 tenths there. So there is definitely he's definitely catching slowly on Albert.
So Albert has the luxury of being able to just sit back and go at his own pace, where Chris has really got to ramp it up to try and pull that gap back in.
Yeah, he sure has.
Risk more mistakes that way.
So yeah, so it's such a shame to see these guys, you know, that are so fast at the back of the grid, all because of a chain reaction there at the start of the race. But unfortunately, that's what happens in these races. You know, it does happen in real life, and even with the best drivers.
That's very true.
So jump back with Albert at the moment. So like I said, he's got no worries at the moment. He's got nothing in front of him. You know, so he's quite capable of keeping his pace and trying to open that gap from Chris. But it is that moment. So Chris Hockey, although he is P3 overall, he has actually got P2 of his class. So he hasn't done too bad there to get back up to this position.
Oscar's doing a very good job holding P2 and P1 in class.
Yeah, absolutely.
Times.
So his fastest lap at the moment with Oscar is a 1:36.2. With his fastest lap, so a 1:36 dead almost. So he's definitely got the pace there. I just want to say, John Preacher's been doing pretty well as well. He's usually a back marker, but he's up to P11 so far, so he's been very, very consistent in this race. So although these AM guys are nowhere near as fast as the pro drivers, I mean they're still getting their sort of lap times about 1:38, so still only about 3 seconds off the pace of the pro drivers, but still a very good pace as it is for the AM class.
As we see our second place AM driver, Daniel Cox, is coming under pressure from Willem. The other AMG could soon see a pass coming up there. He's doing well to hold Willem off so far, but he's got a train of drivers behind him, and he's doing a very, very good job since the couple of those drivers are pro class drivers.
That's right, yeah. So let's just see if I can see is there any damage on. It doesn't look like there's any damage on Willem though, so I don't know what is up with his car, because I know as I said, he's definitely got pace in that car, and he's usually very consistent as well.
Yeah, I'm not expecting him to be doing 37s for sure.
No, that's it. So there can't be something right there if he's only managing 137. But he could also, as I said, he could be held back here by Daniel in the AM class. So Samir is in P6 at the moment, or P5 overall for the pro class. So I just want to jump on board with Emmanuel. He's now P3 for the AM class, P8 overall. And just in the distance there, you can just see that Daniel, who's P2 for the AM class in the blue Mercedes, is not too far away. So there could be a possible battle going on between these guys. As we've got Ray, who's one of the pro drivers, just behind there in the Honda.
I do wonder if Willem maybe wasn't quite expecting these sort of temperature changes, and he's maybe waiting for the temperature to come up to get the best out of his setup. Maybe that's why he's struggling if he's not carrying damage.
Yeah, possibly.
Maybe same with Samir. Not wanting to sort of burn through their tyres in the cold conditions. We shall only see as the race goes on.
That's right, so yeah,
Willem has just got past from a mistake from Coxon.
That's right, so we've got Niels. He's one of the newer drivers for ACC, so he's just signed up to his championship. He's not doing too bad at the moment, P19. So I'll just double check, see roughly where he is. Neil Bowers, so he's looking to be 1, 2, 4. So yeah, he's currently running P9 for his for the AM class at the moment. But as I say, it is a shame. We've got Alberto and Willem P20, P21 at the moment. So it is a shame to see these faster guys at the back of the grid, but it should give him an interesting race to try and catch up and make his way back through the grid. So Chris is now closing up on Oscar, who's P2 of the AM class. So although Chris, if he does manage to pass Oscar, it doesn't give him an extra position, so he don't get any extra points. He's just gives him basically still gives him P2 of his of the pro class, but his main goal is to try and catch Albert, which at the moment he has done. So far he's now lost about 1.2 seconds or gained 1.2 seconds on Albert, so Chris is definitely closing that gap in. So we've got 39 minutes left of the race, so as long as Chris isn't pushing that car too hard, and he is saving some of the tyres for the second half of the race, if we could end up seeing a bit of a battle between Chris and Albert at the end. So
Chris will definitely need to Won't need to hang around though with Oscar. He'll need to get past fairly sharpish. Because some of that time for Albert has actually gone to a few back markers he's had to pass. As for the last few laps, Albert has increased his lap time a little bit, down to mid 35, and he matched Chris over the last couple of laps.
Absolutely. So just looking at getting the last lap times of Albert's managed to get a 1:36.3, and Chris has managed a 1:35.7. So again, he's 6 tenths off. So he's looking to be roughly about 6 tenths off a lap at the moment. So we could possibly see, if he holds his pace for the next sort of 20 minutes, I imagine we should be on the back end of Albert.
Yeah, I would hope to see a race for the last few minutes. Would be very interesting.
Of course, yeah.
Because he hasn't had any real pressure, Albert, so far, apart from the first couple of laps from James. So he may get too comfortable if Chris suddenly comes rocking up. Interesting to see if he can keep the pressure keep it up.
Yeah. So to answer your question there, Welly, no, there's no mandatory pits because 1.0.7 doesn't give us mandatory pits at the moment. Because I like to, if I force the pits, then it means they have to pit. But I said, because obviously 1.0.7 doesn't allow this right now, we're not forcing a pit on the guys because we can't really control it. So we can get someone going and just do this here stop go, and then that can class as their pit stop. So yeah, we like to make it as fair as possible. So hopefully, if 1.08 gives us the forced pit stops, then we're definitely going back to using that again, because that will definitely mix things up in the races. Because as we've seen previously with the previous build 1.0.6, we did see some really good pit strategies going on where certain people were gaining a good couple seconds through their pit stops and taking the lead of the race. So looks like Chris is so Mark's just been lapped there by using the McLaren. So we just see that Chris and Oscar's just passed him.
Thankfully for them, they didn't lose any time behind the back markers.
No, I mean, do you want to be honest, Mark's been racing us for quite a while now. He's been a very consistent driver. So it's good to see, and he obviously understands the rules, so he doesn't really hardly ever gets a penalty from us. So he's definitely one of our better drivers for sure. So I'll just say Alberto is now up to P17, so he was P20 a minute ago. Samir has gone into the pit, so obviously Samir must have had some damage.
Must have received some damage, yeah.
So he's just going into the pits now. So I said it isn't definitely not a mandatory pit stop, so obviously he must have damage or something then, which has obviously cost him a lot of time. Because his fastest lap so far is a 1:36.6. So yeah, he's definitely got some sort of damage going on there. So just jump on board with, we'll just take a bit of a dash view there from Chris. So as I say, we was getting pretty close to Oscar then.
He was very close, but a bit too much curb exit in the corner onto the straight there. It cost him a little bit of his run.
Absolutely. So Chris obviously wants to do what he can to pass Oscar, because as I said again, these guys are not racing for position.
Yeah,
They
back down there, turn 8 would be a good opportunity as well.
So
he has
Chris
a go now.
To get the pass there off Oscar there, so that was nicely done.
Great move there by Chris. It's not very often we see drivers take opportunity and pass there.
Absolutely not. So yeah, so some awesome racing by Chris. So he's definitely got the dedication there to try and close that gap on Albert. So we'll just wait, because Albert's lap time there is a 1:36.6. So we'll just see where Chris comes at. So Chris has just managed a 1:36 dead. So again, he's still 6 tenths faster a lap at the moment than Albert. So we're now down to about 9.5 seconds roughly between them. maybe even down to 9 seconds. So they just see the clocks just drop there a bit. So we might down to 9 seconds now. So Chris has managed to gain about 2.2 seconds so far. So anything can happen. If Chris can hold this consistency, and now he hasn't got any traffic in front of him for a while, he should be able to get those faster lap times, try and get those lower 1:35s.
Yeah, really be able to get his head down now and see what sort of difference he can sort of bite out of Albert.
Yeah, exactly. That's really good going so far.
We're not even at half race distance yet, so he's got plenty of time to possibly make this back up and still have a chance for a win.
Absolutely.
So temperatures are still rising, so they should still see improvements in their lap times.
So Alberto's now up to P15. Samir is down to P19 at the moment. I believe Samir might have actually retired. So I don't know what's happened to Samir there. So I'll be interested to have a chat with Samir later to find out what's happened there, or whether he jumps in chat with us in a minute. We'll catch up with him and see how come he retired. But let's jump back with Ray at the moment, as these guys are in a little bit of a battle between Ray and Daniel, who's in the blue Mercedes. So Ray is apparently currently P5 for the Pro class, P6 overall.
I believe that's actually Willem behind, shown as P16.
Is that really?
That is.
It is, yeah. Oh, this broadcasting API is not very good to what I'm seeing compared to what you guys see on screen. So I do apologise.
He's showing P16. I didn't realise he was so far out of position.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so my board is all over the shop at the moment, which is a bit of a problem because it makes it hard for me to obviously read off it. So just see where James Parker is now. So James Parker is up to P4, or we'd say P3 at the moment for the Pro class. So he's doing very well so far. So he's keen to get a podium today. So as we're just shy of coming up to the halfway marker.
Just see Yuri has just managed to make a pass, get him back up into P11. Trying to remake some ground again after his spin earlier on.
Yeah, unfortunately he did have a bit of a mistake earlier on and spun himself around on track. So yeah, he's currently P11. Well, currently P8 for the Pro class. Looking at maybe actually P7 actually for the Pro class because Thomas is an AM. So yeah, so he's actually So Yuri is actually P7 for the Pro class at the moment, so he's still in for some points. So it looks like Thomas has just decided to go into the pit, so
we are at the halfway mark.
There we are, we're just at the halfway now. So Fabian P5, he's currently running P4 for the Pro class. You see just in the distance there with the yellowy AMG is James, so P3 is not far off for him. So we just jump on board back with Chris again and see how he's doing. So he is slowly improving those lap times. Last lap was a 1:35.7. So looking at Albert's times at the moment, he's maintaining about a 1:36.1. So there's about 4 tenths between them on that lap. so he is closing that gap. So you see it's down to about 8.6 seconds now between Chris and Albert for P1.
No. Interestingly, James in P3 for Pro category has actually been a tenth to 2/10 a lap faster than both of them on the last couple of laps. So it looks like he's trying to hunt them both down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so yeah, James is definitely one to look out for. He's not too far behind. If you see, James is just there behind the Porsche of Oscar, so there's not much distance there between them.
All depend how quick he can get himself past Oscar, because Oscar's doing really well, holding a very good pace so far.
He sure is. So yeah, I'd be surprised to put him back up to give him a pro badge. I think so. If he's got this sort of pace on him, it definitely make him a bit more dominant in the pro class and have a bit more of a battle in his hands.
Yeah, for sure. He's shown great consistency so far today. As again, James was quicker than Chris that last lap as well.
Yeah, so James managed a 135.49. Chris managed a 135.6. So James is about just over 1/10 faster a lap at the moment than Chris.
Both a few tenths a lap faster than Albert. So they're both reeling their leader in at the minute.
They sure are. So Albert's just managed to fast lap of 135.9. Yes, excuse me, I'm chewing a sweet. So yeah, Anthony Emberson, he's doing pretty well so far. Currently P13 of the AM class. So he's got a good battle in his hands at the moment. So he's got a couple of the pro drivers there behind him wanting to get past. So as Oscar's just passed there, and James has just managed to pass him, and as Anthony's just gone off wide. This is also where it's going to get interesting as well, because this is where they're going to obviously get more traffic now with the back markers.
We see Strello from 6th come into the pits, interestingly.
That is interesting to see him go into the pits there. Yeah, very interesting.
He was actually a few tenths a lap faster than Fabian in P5, so it's interesting to see why he's pitted there. He's definitely going to lose a whole handful of positions.
He sure is. So James is doing pretty well at the moment, still closing that gap there on Oscar. So he really wants to pass Oscar at some point and try and push on to catch up with Chris. We'll just jump back to Chris at the moment. So Chris again is gaining now. So only about 7.7 seconds ahead with Albert at the moment. So again, I said they was almost about 11.2 seconds behind about 15 minutes ago. So they have slowly closed that gap. So it looks like Albert will be starting to hit some more of the back markers. And Chris has got a couple of back markers in front with Ray and... Sorry, Ray's in the pit, sorry. So he's got John Preacher not far.
So
why is that saying that
Yuri in P9 might also be a guy to keep an eye on. He's currently doing sort of 37 flats, where 3 positions, P8, 9, 8, 7 and 6 are all doing 138s. So he's a good second a lap faster than these guys. There's a fair gap between the positions, but with 24 minutes still to go, he could really earn a whole load of time here. So it'd be interesting to see what sort of distance he can pull in.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So again, James is still trying to get past Oscar. He's really putting the pressure on now. So as
The straight line speed of that Merc has really helped him out there off that tight hairpin.
Yeah, I'll just jump so we can just see that obviously, yeah, so James has managed to make the pass now past Oscar. So some awesome racing so far from James. I was going to say looked like Oscar has managed to cut back in, but James has managed to hold it. So yeah, so James has managed to get clearly past Oscar there. So no change of position for James, because James is still in P3 for the Pro class, with Oscar just behind in the Porsche P1 for the AM class. So at the moment we have James for the podium for P3 at the moment. Chris is P2, not far ahead, as you just seen there as the camera just sort of flipped back. And we've got Albert about 8 seconds ahead at the moment. So Albert's just done a faster lap the last lap with a 1:35.5, where Chris has done a 1:36 dead. So Chris was actually 5 tenths slower that lap, which has obviously cost him, because he was down to about 7.7 seconds behind Albert, which is now put him back up to just over 8 seconds. So he's got a lot of work to do. Hopefully he doesn't try to make too many mistakes, and he can manage to keep himself going. And hopefully close that gap a bit more, and in the last sort of the last couple of minutes, hopefully we'll see a bit of a battle between these guys.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what James can manage this next lap. Now he'll have clean air, and he can go chasing after Chris as well.
That's it. So Alberto's done very well so far. So like I said, he had a bit of an incident earlier. He went into the pits. He was a lap down. He's now up to P11. So it just goes to show that if you hang in with it and don't quit the race, you will get some good points come the end of it. So Daniel Coxon at the moment is holding P7. With Zelstra behind in P8. So they're fighting for the AM class at the moment. So it's nice to see a group of AM drivers there, quite close together at the moment. So Emmanuel, he's P2 of the AM class. So he's doing pretty well so far. I haven't got too much to worry about. It looks like so it looks like Daniel's behind, about 17.5 seconds behind. So it looks like Emmanuel is going to be quite comfortable there, getting P2. John Preacher, he's currently P15. So the next guy from him is Anthony, who's about 5.6 seconds ahead at the moment. So Fabian's now trying to put the pressure on Oscar. So I have to say that Oscar's pace has definitely dropped off now, hasn't it? So, but he's still holding. So Oscar's still holding P1 for the AM class. So if Fabian's not far off Oscar at the moment, that means he's not far off from James. So yeah, James is about 11 seconds ahead of Fabian at the moment, and looks to be about 4 seconds behind Chris. So just jump back to the leader, give him a bit of screen time. So Albert's doing pretty well at the moment, still looking to be just over 8 seconds ahead of Chris, who's currently P2, with James Parker 12 seconds behind him. And then you've got Ray Strelo, who looks to be... No, sorry, you've got Oscar, sorry, looks to be about 23 seconds ahead, behind.
Definitely think we're going to see a pass for P8 soon. Yuri consistently is taking a second a lap out of these boys and showing that why he's one of the pro drivers.
Yeah, so although his race hasn't gone well for him, he's not doing bad with the position he's in at the moment. So
Yeah, we could definitely see him take definitely P7, I reckon, across the next 5 or 10 minutes. He's been reeling these boys in consistently, at least a second a lap faster.
So actually, believe it or not, Yuri is actually P5 for the pro class right now. So although he's P9 overall, there is 4 AM class in front of him.
Again, showing why he is a pro class driver. He's been able to stick at it even though he hasn't had the best of luck at the start.
No, but that's the
He's
thing.
really been able to bring
it's
himself back up the order.
Yeah, so it's the same with Alberto, isn't it? Because he's now up to P12, so he's doing pretty well. Let's just jump down to Willem, who's currently P13. So again, so these guys had a really bad start. Started at the back of the pack, and they're already back up midway of the pack right now. So they've done pretty well so far to get where they are. We've still got 17 minutes of the race to go, so they've still got a chance to improve and get up the grid a bit more. I mean, what we're going to stand is obviously they've got a mixture of AM drivers between them, so it doesn't really affect their overall score with the current position they're in, because as I said, it works out with the class they're in to the points they get on the table.
That's true, but as a driver you always want to be in front on track, as we know.
Yeah, that's it.
As I'm sure Yuri, you can see he wants to get past these guys for sure. There's no extra points in it, but it always feels good to get the pass on track nice and cleanly.
Yeah, of course, exactly. So, yeah, some pretty good racing so far from these guys.
As Yuri does indeed make the pass on Zelstra, nice and clean. Both give each other plenty of space there down at turn 8.
Yeah, so he's just passed one of the AM drivers there. So no position gain. He's still P5 for the pro class, although he's up to P8 overall. Like I said, the points don't make a difference with the overall position. It's just the class. So we'll just see roughly where James is at the moment. He's definitely closing the gap on Chris now as well. So he was 4 seconds behind Chris. He's now only 3 seconds behind Chris. So he's gained a lot of time so far. He's been very consistent.
Most pace of the 3 at the minute.
Sorry?
He's definitely got the most pace of the 3 at the minute.
Yes, he sure has. That's right. Yeah. So he's been getting some pretty fast lap times. 1:35.4 was his last lap. Well, we look at Chris. Chris is just saying that Chris has just gone over the line with his last lap of a 1:35.4, where James has just done a 1:35.7. So James is 3 tenths slower than what he was in his previous lap, but Chris is obviously only 3 tenths, sorry, it's even 5 tenths, sorry, faster than his previous lap. So it is definitely getting changed around at the moment, but looking at the times at the moment, it looks like Chris, to jump on board with Chris so we get an idea. So Chris is now down to about 7 seconds or so behind Albert, but there's only 14 minutes left. So this is where it's going to get interesting again with Albert to see. At the moment he's got a pretty clear track, so he's got no traffic to fight for at the moment. So he's pretty much home run. You just see Chris just coming round the corner there, just in the distance, so you can see how big a distance there are between the guys. As it does look like Chris has got one of the back markers here, which is Mark, who's in the McLaren. So Mark's shot off wide, unfortunately, but it gives Chris the opportunity to pass nice and cleanly.
Definitely think driver of the day so far would have to vote in Chris's direction, because he's managed to come back from what wasn't a great start, not his own fault. He's done very well to make the time up. Although Albert has done really well to hold on to the lead, I think Chris has had to work a lot harder for what he's got.
Yeah, very true, yeah. So Thomas Potter has passed Emmanuel there, but Thomas Potter is in P18, so he is a back marker, but he is trying to get back up on his positions. So he is trying to unlap himself, shall I say. So Alberto is now closing the gap on Ray. We just see that Alberto, we've got to the back mark again, Mark, who's in the McLaren. So we could get to see a pass at some point with Alberto, because you know, said Alberto has got the pace in the Ferrari. And he's definitely closing the gap there with Ray, who's currently P11.
I'm not sure if Chris has made a small mistake on this last lap. We'll soon see with his lap time, but he's lost about a second to the leader, and he's only now... James has got the gap down to just on a second now. Yeah, Chris's last lap was a 37 dead.
Wow, so
Just
yeah,
a
he's
good
lost
second to the other guys.
on that.
So he made a small mistake there somewhere, and now he's going to have James all over the back of him for the last 10 minutes. It's more a case of can he hold on a second than being able to go and fight for the lead.
So let's jump over to James, like I said, yeah, so James has closed that gap now. He was 4 seconds behind, he dropped down to 3 seconds, and now he's about 0.8 seconds behind Chris. So unfortunately Chris made a mistake that's cost him a couple seconds. So hello James, flashing your lights.
Yeah, he's got the carrot dangling in front of him now, so there's that incentive to find that little bit more pace as rather be the chasing driver in this situation.
Yes, it's going pretty good. We're going to drop back to Alberto, because again he is closing the gap on Ray for P11 for Strelo. So we could possibly see an overtake here. So Alberto's just got a bit of, he's just caught up with George. So he could gain another position, because Ray's now managed to get past George, who's taken him up to P10. So Alberto makes the move there, gets up to P11. So you've got to close that gap again on Strelo for P10. So jump back to James, because he is closing the gap on Chris. So we get a bit of on board, so we can see how close these guys are at the moment. So this is where Chris is going to feel a bit of pressure now, because he's going to want to defend and keep his position. So these guys have been practicing most of the week in the practice lobbies together, so there's definitely going to be a bit of a competition between these guys.
Definitely seems as if James has got the more stable and grippy car at the moment.
Yeah, it seems
He's
like
able
it.
to
He's
stay
definitely-
with Chris quite easily, it looks.
Yeah, he's definitely settled into his pace at the moment. So shame about the start really, because James was doing pretty well.
Yeah, we would have for sure liked to have seen a better battle for the lead.
So Williams just gone into the pits, which is interesting to see. So has he gone in to retire, or did he end up getting? Must have got a drive-through penalty, I guess. That's what's happened. So he's it's like he must have had a drive-through penalty. So jump back on with James again, because again they're closing the gap now as they're coming up to some back markers. So this is where it's going to get really interesting.
Yeah, Chris actually find himself having to defend down at the turn 8 for the first time.
That's it. So I'll just go on to Helicam here so we can see as Chris has tried to close that door there to say, no, James, you're not coming through.
So real fast parts of the track here is not really where you want to be catching the back markers.
No, this is where they've got to be trying to be careful. So James is trying to see where he can find a gap. There's been a bit of contact
because
there.
that is exactly what can happen.
As they both actually hit him. So, God. But the race is still on, so that's a bit of a shame. Did you catch to see who that was that just got took out there?
That was a green Ferrari. What's that? Pepe? Pepin? Zelstra? There's been two green Ferrari, so it's never easy to tell.
No,
the other one being Andre Del Mato.
Back at some point, so we'll check that out again. So just jump back to Albert for a moment to see how he's doing. So they've got another back marker at the moment with Ben, so they're going to have to try and overtake nicely. So yeah, so Ben's allowed them to pass nicely there. So no.
Great run for James though this time.
Yeah, so it looks like James got the edge. Doesn't look
Chris
like
has
it.
got
Looks
the
like
inside
Chris has got
line.
the edge here, isn't he? So
Well, he's going to try and run it around the outside. It's fair if he can, but not quite this time.
that's it. So some pretty awesome racing going on between these guys at the moment. So
Great
James is
friends, so there'll be
definitely
a lot of
putting the
fair
pressure
respect
on
shown
Chris.
for sure.
So we'll just jump on board so you guys can get a better view here what's going on between these guys. There's been awesome racing with these guys at the moment. So see that James is trying to take a different line here, hoping to try and get a faster exit. But you see Chris is straight on the power there, straight out the corner. So come around the last corner down the pitch straight. But this is where it looks like Chris has got the edge because he seems to pull away. So he's definitely must be running a lower wing or something. So it's a really good racing between these guys at the moment with Chris and James. Both fighting for P2.
Again, great exit there by James. He's in the toe. He's definitely gaining on him.
The toe, isn't he?
Chris has had to go defensive. Now, will James be able to take it around the outside? No, not this time.
No, he's slower exit there, unfortunately. That's the thing, when you get starting to go too wide, you will start to lose time then when you're starting to have a battle with each other, which is not really what they want to do. He also
found himself offline as well.
Yeah,
much grip out there.
Exactly, this is where Albert's starting to gain time now. If you see now, Albert's almost up to 11.5 seconds ahead now, so although they're having a good battle between Chris and James, it is the loss of losing them time with the leader.
That's exactly what Albert wanted to see. You just got to gently bring it home now. Rare for these two, either or could win this.
This is it. So let's jump over to Albert. He's P10 at the moment. So it looks like Strado's managed to get away. Strado's managed to get a 3-second gap on Alberto now, but Alberto is doing very well so far. So just a quick look. quickly bring up the leaderboard time so we have a quick look to see what's going on. So if Alberto's P10 and there's 3 AMs in front, this actually makes him P7 for the pro class so far. So jump back on with James because it seems to be this is where all the action is at the moment with these guys fighting for P2. So we just got just over 3 minutes left of the race. So yeah, guys, if you're just joined the stream or new to the channel, don't forget to obviously like and subscribe on YouTube.
Great braking around the outside, but Chris still gets a great exit. James has just had a bit of a nose down the inside. Is that going to allow him the inside down in the braking zone here?
As he's trying to make the move, it looks like he might have made a move, a little bit of contact there, but Chris has to give. So James has now managed to take P2, so some awesome racing between these guys, absolutely epic. So
yeah, that was a great move by James, brought on from the late braking attempt around the outside down into turn 8, which then allowed him that little bit of room and down in the next braking zone, which is just enough to get the pass done.
Absolutely awesome to see here. So Chris is going to be starting to try to put the pressure now on James. Is James going to flake for the next 2 minutes with Chris behind him putting the pressure on him? Because now this is where James is going to have to race defensively. So some awesome racing. Yeah, so like I said, guys, don't forget, if you're new to the stream, don't forget to obviously like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Twitch. That'd be much appreciated. If you're into sim racing, come and join us. We're at www.redlinemotorsport.co.uk. So yeah, come and join us. Come to our Discord group where we've got just shy of 1,500 members so far, and we race across a selection of sims 7 days a week. So yeah, everyone's way welcome. We have a really pretty good, awesome community. So the race is still on at the moment for P2 as there's a minute and a half left. So just going to get a quick look to see where Albert is on track, so we can sort of roughly get an idea of if there is going to be another lap. So it looks like we should see one more lap after this.
Yes, Chris hasn't given up yet on trying to have another go back at James. He's still right there.
Yeah, so some awesome racing from these guys. These guys are our esports drivers. They will be taking part, well, hopefully be taking part in the Nürburgring. Depends if they manage to get the spot up. We have got Samir who is racing for sure.
Right, man. The leader is on the final lap. Give it a final push.
So that would be, I believe, the 31st of August where they're going to the Nürburgring to do the esports. So do check it out, guys. That's going to be pretty awesome to watch.
Oh, that's very good to see the back marker straight out of the way there. These two can continue on their fight.
Absolutely. He's probably just looked at his mirrors for stuff this, just get out of the way. There's 2 missiles coming. So it looks like Chris is trying everything he can, giving it his absolute all to try and catch James, but looks like James is managing to get away. So if we look at the fast laps times now, the last lap Chris managed to 1:36.3, James managed to 1:36.1. So James is shown to be 2/10 faster at the moment, as he's definitely opening up the gap, almost a second between him now. So James has managed to found his pace in his car. And although they did have a bad start at the start of the race, they definitely have had an interesting race for sure. So we're just going to jump on board with Alberto because he's literally coming around the final corner. So he's going to be taking pole. So well done, Albert, for taking pole there. Awesome racing. Just going to jump over to James. So James is still P2 at the moment. So he's managed to take P2 of the pros.
Great job.
So great racing there, and Chris just goes over the line taking P3 for the pros. Oscar's just coming around the last corner to take P1 of the AM class, or P4 overall. Fabian's coming around the last corner now to take P... Getting confused now. So he's taking P5 overall, which would be P4 for the pro class. So some absolutely awesome racing for these guys. Manuel is coming around to take P2 in a minute, so I'll just bring up the leaderboard in case we do not get to see the final leaderboard at the moment. So this is the current standing so far. Pretty much has changed at the moment. No one's pretty much close enough to gain an extra position. So they come around for the final corners here. So Manuel will try to get P2 for the AM class, P6 overall. I'll just bring up the leaderboard again just in case the game just decides to stop. So Manuel's managed to get that. So jump on board with Yuri because he's coming in now for P7. As he comes around the final corner, or he's gone into the pit, so I guess he must have finished the lap before and he's just on an out lap. So there we are, that was the final standings there. So some awesome racing there. Unfortunately, lap 1, T1, we had a chain reaction with one car, which ended up taking out quite a few cars, so that was a big disappointment really to see that. But overall, I mean, the guys did manage to recover and get back up to the positions they almost started in. So that's some awesome racing there from Chris and James, and excellent racing from Albert to get P1 and hold on to P1 there. So yeah, some really good racing from these guys, and obviously awesome for some of the guys that obviously did have a bad race to still stick with it and race to the end, because they still obviously get points in the championship. So yeah, so some really good racing. Otherwise, thanks for coming along, guys, and watching the stream. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to obviously like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitch. That'd be really good. Obviously makes us more inclined to do more streaming of our races, and hopefully give you guys better quality with commentating as the more we do it. Otherwise, again, thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you again soon. Thank you. Cheers.